Assalamualaikum. Welcome to the second part of our video regarding the research fundamentals, how to initiate a research project. I'm Tanvir Ahmed Khan. I'm a graduate student of Asmal University of Science and Technology. And this part of our video will cover another 4 fundamental concepts. Those are research methodology, literature review, research proposal, and finally, a thesis statement. So there are 4 modules in this presentation. Let's begin with the first one. So research methodology. So research methodology is the overall strategy that guides how a research study is conducted. So it is a framework that justifies every choices we make about how a research is carried out and how it becomes the backbone of our research chapter. So 3 core properties or questions should be answered in the research methodology portion. So first is the how. So methodology should provide the framework for answering how we're going to collect and analyze and report our data. Second thing is the purpose. So we need to justify the selection of a specific method. So why we selected a specific method. And it serves as the basis of the methodology chapter. So it's a very important thing. Finally, methodology involves integration of the 3 distinct planning areas: sample design, data collection methods, and data analysis methods. So in the methodology chapter, there are 3 core types of methodology. First one is quantitative, second one is qualitative, and finally a combination of both, so mixed method. Quantitative methodology is deductive. It focuses on hard numbers, statistics, and testing hypotheses, etc. And the qualitative one, it's more inductive. So it focuses on words, concepts, perceptions, often used to develop hypotheses from ground up. And finally, the mixed method. So it combines both the quantitative and qualitative methods. So often uses the quantitative portion to explore, qualitative portion to explore, and quantitative portion to test those results of exploration. So in engineering research project, it's generally recommended for the first-time researchers to stick with a mono method, and which is actually quantitative methods, unless the topic warrants other methods or a mixed method. So quantitative research, within quantitative research, there are also 3 basic designs. So one is descriptive. So descriptive means it describes the current condition of a population attributes. Then there is relational. So it examines relationship between variables, whether it's they can find similarities or differences or something. But what it doesn't do, that it doesn't imply any causation. So then the third kind, it's causal or experimental. So this type of methodology, it determines if a treatment variable influences an outcome or another variable. So in bridge engineering design, experimental design sets are very common, but also there is something called quasi-experimental research methodology model, research methodology design. So where experimental designs are usually done in a lab environment and controlled environment, and we can use random variables, and the results we find in the experimental done in the lab can be universal. It's true for all the structures, everything. Whereas quasi-experimental, It here it looks like experimental method, but here the existing group are defined. Like for breeze, maybe we fixed a certain breeze on which breeze, say we are using a retrofitting method using CFRP. So for a certain breeze, so those results are valid, truly valid for that specific structure. It can be transferred to another structure or similarities, but it's not truly experimental. A good research study must satisfy three important requirements and which should be reflected in their methodology. So the first one is validity. So it means the research measures exactly what it intended to measure. So we need to ask the question, does the instrument we are selecting, it measures what it's supposed to measure? And reliability is another thing, the consistency of the measurement, uh, the methodology. And finally, the ethics. So researchers must address ethical clearance requirement, data access, and participant protection. Let's dive in some examples. Methodology in Breeze example. So a quantitative methodology could be regarding structural health monitoring. So we will use sensors to collect numerical empirical data and on strain and vibration. So hard results would be uh, generated through those sensors, and we will do our research based on those data. Whereas qualitative research methodology, an example could be breeze inspection and maintenance practices on that topic. So we may conduct interviews on a focus group of breeze engineers, inspectors, maintenance personnel to understand the challenge, decision-making process, asset management practices. So there could be KII. There are many tools to do this, like KII or questionnaire survey or something like that. So these are qualitative, and finally the mixed, say a research project on material durability. So here we can combine the quantitative data like corrosion rate, chloride penetration, or compressive strength with qualitative data from interviews from maintenance engineer regarding deterioration mechanism and repair strategies so that we can come to a holistic solution to the problem. Okay, so the next module is literature review, and literature review also impacts the research methodology very much because the research methodology is justified, a big portion is justified through the literatures. So a literature review is not simply a summary of previous researches. Its purpose is to understand the current state of knowledge and to demonstrate familiarity with important studies and positioning our research within the existing body of work. So, three core property it should have the literature review. Contextualization. So it will provide a solid foundation for our existing knowledge. It will be credible to demonstrate familiarity with the field and the key seminal work. And finally, it will position how our project contributes to the ongoing academic conversions. A strong literature review explains why the proposed research is necessary. So, a very important role of researchers' literature review is to identify the research gap. The gap is where we fit into the conversion that it answers the so what question, like we discussed in the previous portion of the video. So there is this problem. So what? Why would we need to orient this research project? So there could be many types of gaps present in the research. Basically, three categories. So confirming or replicate previous findings. It could be addressing a weakness or limitation within the current research, and finally, it could challenge the existing assumptions as well. So, how we will search and evaluate the literature? So, first, the source. There is a saying that if we input garbage, the output should definitely be garbage. So, the source we need to find peer-reviewed primary sources and seminal works. So, identifying good sources for good literatures is important. And management is also important. So we need to use bibliographic tools like Zotero or Mendeley or EndNote to catalog sources early from the beginning of the research, because later it could be very messy to find the right literature. And finally, we need to evaluate them critically. So looking at the methodologies used by others to justify why we're choosing ours. So that's the critical evaluation. For example, let's say we are doing a research on existing traffic load models. We can separate the problem, we can target the problem that existing traffic load models are based on short span data. That's the problem. So, where is the gap? There is a lack of validated stochastic models for ultra long span bridges under congested traffic. And so the review goal should be analyzing how previous researchers sampled traffic and identified uh, where their data lacks applicability to a specific new bridge geometries. Next portion, research proposal. A research proposal serves mainly two purposes: persuasion and planning, and it should always keep in mind about who the audiences are. So persuasion means in the research proposal, we are convincing our supervisors or committee that the topic is legitimate and we are prepared to handle it. And the planning section means it's a roadmap to ensure the necessary ducks are in a row before starting. So that we have the right tools, right budget, time frame, everything matches for doing the research. And we should always keep in mind about the audiences. So a research proposal have four core components. There should be a title page. So there should be project title, researcher's name, supervisors and institutions like this. There should be a good introduction, very important part of the proposal. So it should hook the readers and state the research problem and questions. Finally, the research design. So this is where we will explain the detailed method, practices, and foreseeable obstacles. And finally, we should demonstrate the feasibility of the project within the certain time and budget. So let's, these are the, for the research title, which comes first in the research proposal. So the title should be a strong academic title, and it should include the topic, population, context, and methods. It should not be very lengthy. It should be around 16 to 18 words on average, and it should be very specific. For example, a research title could be like this: a quantitative analysis of bridge deck corrosion in coastal highway bridges over a 10-year period. So see, in the first portion, the method, it's a quantitative analysis. The topic is the bridge deck corrosion. We got the context in coastal highway bridges, what type of bridge or which area region we're targeting. And finally, we're stating the scope in short, that over 10 years period. This slide presents an example research proposal. Uh, so, experimental evaluation of graphene-based coating for corrosion mitigation in reinforced concrete bridge piles. That is our topic. So, the objective is to evaluate graphene-based coating for reducing corrosion. The methodology should be comparing treated and untreated concrete specimens in simulated marine environment. And what we're expecting, say, 40% reduction in corrosion-induced mass loss over 12 months. Finally, the thesis statement, the last topic of our presentation. So, thesis statement is the central argument of a research. And usually it comes at the end of the introduction, and it sets the tone of the whole research. So, definition could be a concise one or two sentence statement that takes a specific position and summarizes the main point of the paper. And it should not be just a fact. It is a claim that requires evidence and supports. And usually it's a debatable claim. So we will take a side, and in our research, we will try to establish that claim. Finally, the placement, like you said, at the end of the introduction. So there are many similar terms, like there is a topic, there is objective, there is thesis statement. They all are different. They all are placed in the research proposal introduction. So that to differentiate between them, the topic is the goal subject, like bridge maintenance or retrofitting, bridge retrofitting, or to find a better material, more sustainable material, something like that. So this is a very broad subject, the global subject. Then the objective, objective means what we're going to do in our research. So this paper will investigate something. So that states the objective. And the thesis statement, that specific stance or finding, what we're going to do, why we're going to do, and how we're going to do, all that elements should be present in the statement. For example, implementing something reduces some effect by some percentage. So this is a clear statement. So how to develop a strong thesis statement? So we need to start with a question, formulate the research question. Then we do the find the gap through literature. So conduct preliminary research. Then we need to take a stand, provide a specific debatable answer for the question. And finally, the evidence. So the support the stand we took with the because factor, the evidence, or we did in the, or we're going to do in the research. So we need to avoid some common mistakes, like making the statement too big, too broad, state just the fact, or maybe we take a weak position. So all of these we need to avoid, and the fix is to make it specific and indicate the how or why behind the claim very clearly. Here are some examples. Say we're going to do a research on using smart sensor to help maintain bridges. So if we just say smart sensors help maintain bridges, that is a statement, not a thesis statement. So a strong thesis statement should be more articulate, more multidimensional, and are debatable, like integrating fiber optics strength sensors. We're specifying which type of sensors into suspension cable bridge cables, allows for real-time fatigue detection, potentially extending service life by 15 years through predictive maintenance. So what type of sensors, where we're going to place is, and what type of breeze, and how it will impact on the maintenance lifetime, extend our service lifetime, all are present in that statement. Another weak example could be seismic retrofitting is expensive but necessary. That's mainly a statement, not a thesis statement. A good thesis statement could be using shape memory alloy restraint apps in multi-span bridges in a superior seismic retrofit is a superior seismic retrofit strategy because it provides self-centering capabilities that reduces post-earthquake repair cost by 30% compared to traditional steel restrainers. So that's a clear and bold thesis statement. So we're at the end of our presentation. So the key takeaway from our presentation is the methodology is the how and must be justified by its fit for the research aim. Literature reviews are meant to find the gap we are feeling in the academic conversation. Sorry, and the research proposal serves as a contract and feasibility check for the committee. The thesis statement should be concise, specific, and take a debatable stand. Thank you.